All right, so today for Minor Quibbles, we're going to be talking about a 1985 film called To Live and Die in LA. This is hard to find. You can't really stream it anywhere. I had never heard of it before. I've never heard anybody mention it, talk about it, anything like that. Um, the director is William Friedkin,
Yeah.
who directed French Connection, which is an awesome movie,
Yeah.
and The Exorcist, which is another awesome movie. So it's crazy to kind of find this hidden gem
Hmm.
in the work, the oeuvre of the of a very well-known director. And um, I think I'm just going to start off by saying like this film is like 80s core film. The soundtrack to the vibe to the aesthetic to even just like the editing, everything about it is just like hyper saturated new wave 80s, all crammed in to like 2 hours. Um,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah. I'd actually really like to know how you watched it.
right. I followed a lead or two on the internet, on Reddit, and learned that it is available for free to basically stream on the Internet Archive. I don't know how or why, but somebody must have uploaded it to some film website, I don't know, some years ago, and the Internet Archive still has it. So it's a bare bones video player. You know, there's not going to be any closed captions or anything like that. You're just going to kind of have to just watch it in like the simple web player, but it's there and it's good quality too.
Yeah, I think that's probably I think we've talked about this idea before where if you arrive at something on your own,
Mm,
how much you appreciate it or like it is tinted by the fact that you found it. It's a discovery
yeah, totally.
versus, seeing something like I watched Heat for the first time, and I know that's sacrilege. I watched Heat for the first time like 2 months ago,
Right.
and that's been hyped for me for years. And it's that constant like, you've never
Never
seen
seen it.
Heat? What?
Yeah.
I was underwhelmed ultimately by it. And it's like because I didn't arrive at it myself. And,
Yeah.
and it's like, it's actually maybe not a horrible comparison to make
Yeah.
between that movie and this one, but I vastly prefer this one. Like Live
Oh,
and Die in
I'm the
LA.
opposite, man. I mean, I thought this was like a C plus B minus movie.
Oh, damn,
I put
disagree.
Heat at A minus.
Disagree. I think maybe that's a little bit of me being a contrarian. And
Sure.
again, it's tinted by the fact that you know I I like William Friedkin is amazing.
Mhm.
I love a lot of his movies. I'd never seen this one. Wow, check out this flare that I'm getting right now. This is just perfect that we're talking about this. Robbie Mueller is like looking down upon us right now through this lens flare of the sun coming in my apartment because Robbie Mueller is one of my favorite DPs.
Mm.
He's fantastic. He's done a lot of incredible things that a lot of people will probably recognize.
Mhm.
Um, and I didn't know how to get a hold of this movie
Yeah.
uh, based on those facts, and I literally it was burned for me on a DVD disc.
Mhm.
I guess that's whatever you call that. It's like that's repetitive. There's no need to say disc, right? Digital video disc, yeah. So DVD
I don't know. Yeah.
by by this Eastern European fellow who just has every film imaginable, and he wouldn't sell it to me, but he burned me a copy. And
Yeah.
like that's how I came to arrive at actually finally seeing this thing. And I think all that taints my view a little bit.
Sure.
Whereas Heat I just rented on Amazon, and I was
Yeah.
like, this
It's
is
probably
cool.
special. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is, I mean, don't get me wrong.
I've had people like react to that way to like The Wire, for example, where it's like they were like, yeah, everybody just keeps talking about it, but I don't know, and it's like, okay, fair enough, I guess, but
Yeah.
um,
Don't get me wrong. I thought Heat was good.
yeah,
I was expecting my mind to be blown by it because literally everyone says that
yeah,
that's what happens, So I was just
yeah.
kind
I
of
think
like,
it's more that my impression of Heat. I love Heat. I mean, I would call it one of the best crime thrillers ever made. I think is that it at the time it came out, it was it was a big movie because it's got big names in it, etc. But it didn't like I don't think it did exceptionally well at the box office, and it was kind of like a little bit forgotten. And I think since the internet, there's been a little bit of a rediscovery of Heat, and so now everybody's clued into the fact that Heat was this movie. And
yeah.
so maybe the same phenomenon will happen with To Live and Die in LA. Maybe it all starts here. People will be like,
I
"Oh, I got to
hope
see this."
I hope
Yeah,
because kind of the things that I wanted from Heat, and I don't know, this doesn't need to become like the thesis here that like one
Sure.
movie's better than the other, and we're just comparing the two for no real good reason, except for the fact that they're both action movies,
Mhm.
that have some interesting methods behind them,
Yeah.
but like kind of what I love about this movie is I've never seen LA depicted this way in a
Mm.
movie before. Like it was dirty, it's grimy, it's warehouses, it's dirt, it's neon, it's all these things that I want, but the violence is violent. Like
Mhm.
I love that when somebody gets shot in this movie, it's like splatter, you
Mhm.
just don't see that anymore, even though yeah, I get it. It's uncanny valley. Like blood doesn't look like that.
Mhm.
It doesn't look like that when somebody gets shot in the head or whatever. But for a movie like this, I love it.
Yeah.
It just makes, I don't know, for just a more intense watch.
Yeah, this is a movie that it hits hard, but it very much wants to hit hard. I would say, it's
Totally.
really every opportunity that it has to be stylized or edgy, it's definitely going to take that.
Hmm.
It's a very what I would call high testosterone movie. There's
Yeah.
no emotion other than like anger and the desire for revenge, and it's all very much about men with too much tea basically in their bloodstream, just going after each other, doing what it takes, and I like it. It definitely
Are you
has
talking about Heat right now, or are you talking about To Live and Die in
to
LA?
live and die in LA. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well,
But
could be either. Could be
yeah, I
either.
mean, just everything. You've got everything from the way that the protagonist dresses. He's got the aviators on. He's got the like slightly tighter than average jeans, and he's just kind of like he looks cool. He looks like a badass who doesn't give a fuck. To the babes that are always like in the scenes here and there, even
Yeah.
for no reason really other than just to be there. It's just this movie is pure testosterone.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe I guess I would have to ask some of my women friends to, let me know if this is just like not up their alley. But I think outside of the fact that those things are present and they're there for that reason almost only, this movie is a little bit deeper than that. Like
Mhm.
this is a total character study on the idea of testosterone, in my opinion. Like
Mhm.
the main character, like I was kind of wondering because there's that scene at the very beginning where he jumps off the bridge and then he's got the
Yeah.
latch to his leg and he's like swinging and he's enjoying it or whatever. And I was trying to piece together minutes after it was over. I was like, what was the point of that?
Mhm.
But it's just the visual metaphor for the entire film and for that character. And this
Yeah.
movie is an exploration of this particular character. It's less about the money laundering and the revenge, and it's more just like, let's get into the marrow of what a thrill seeker who cannot be satiated ever
Mhm.
is willing to do to try to satiate that, because it's almost not even about his dead partner, it's just about the thrill, and I'm gonna push it constantly. And
Yeah. Whatever initially motivated him to seek revenge for his uh, killed partner eventually subsides into the background, and he
right.
becomes motivated simply by that, just the drive, that just masculine drive
Yeah,
to just like get into scraps with people and argue and go after it. I don't know,
close,
it's
it's
very.
close calls, like that's
Yeah,
what he's all about, is close
yeah,
calls. And
yeah.
it's for a minute, this happens to me a lot when I watch a movie where if something is just a lot of candy,
Yeah.
I get worried that there's not going to be any sort of like real point or something interesting beyond it.
Mhm.
And I think that does happen for a lot of films out there nowadays, where it's like, this is going to be forgettable. I don't really care about it, whatever. But there's the scene. I think it's like right after they do that incredible William Friedkin, just again, car chases. The dude is just the master. That scene where they're driving away from the FBI agents, as you learn later.
Mhm.
Um, After that's over, he goes to his informant's place, presumably to go have sex with her
Mhm.
because he's on like that testosterone endorphin high.
Yeah.
And she's like, "What happened?" He's like, no big deal. It's fine. It was
Yeah.
easy or whatever." Like he doesn't see that multiple near death experience as like a big deal.
Mhm.
And she's like, "I'm scared. Like, what is wrong with you?" And he
Mhm.
just kind of laughs through it. And I was like, okay, so this film actually is doing this interesting thing that I was hoping it was going to be doing, where it is kind of more of an exploration of that
Yeah.
than just kind of being like, yeah, I like leather jackets and I like aviators and I like guns. It's not a John Woo movie, you know, like it's
Yeah.
more than that.
I would say it rides the line on that, because a film like this it's so stylized, and a film that is so consumed with depicting this character as sort of like, sexy, masculine, cool, edgy. Like there's always going to be a little bit of dissonance between any message that's like any type of cautionary tale,
Oh, well,
which is at the same time absolutely celebrating this guy to some degree,
well,
right?
sure. I guess my nitpick there is that I don't think that there's a message.
Okay.
And I think what's interesting is like, I don't know. I'm not going to try to compare these films because they're not the same, but like consider something like There Will Be Blood. It's
Okay.
like, does the narrative of that movie really matter that much? Or are we just studying this particular character and their motivations throughout and how they inform the narrative around them? You know, like that's kind of what that movie is all about. In my opinion, it's a character study, and so is this movie. And so is there a message? I don't think so. Like I would maybe cringe if they tried to put a message in there,
Yeah.
but it is, again, it's the exploration of that. It's like the
You're
interest.
saying it's a neutral character study, but it is a character study.
Well, I'm just saying that it's not trying to convince you one way or another that this is bad or this is
Yeah,
good
that's what I mean by
or
neutral. Is
whatever.
that,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just trying to drive into the psyche, into the core of it, like, and it's doing it with a lot of fucking style, which
Uh-huh.
I think makes it awesome. Like it's
Yeah,
just
for sure.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it very
Well,
much.
the funny thing, you mentioned this before, how Friedkin does well with car chases. It is funny you say that, because there's a great set piece that's about, it's sort of like the final big set piece, big action set piece of the film, about two-thirds of the way through, that is a car chase. And it's one of the better car chases that you will see for sure in cinema.
Period.
And as I was watching it, my mind went to French Connection. And I didn't know at the time who the director was. But lo and behold, French Connection, and that has one of the greatest car chases of all time in cinema. So it's just interesting that connection was there in my mind,
Yeah.
without even realizing it.
Yeah, I mean that's it wouldn't be pretentious to use the word auteur for that. It's like it's so bare bones Friedkin that like you made the connection without ever even needing it. It's like a Michael Bay film when you see a Michael Bay film, same way. Yeah, I don't know. There are many details I guess you could talk about this movie, but I want to talk about one particular moment.
Okay.
And I'm curious how you not perceived it, but how you reacted to it.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm gonna get there. I'm just gonna go around. I'm gonna use No Country for Old Men as an example of this, but I think this movie topped it somehow. Having a movie where you are in the car with this particular character, metaphorically speaking, and you're with them from start to finish, and coming to the moment where they pull the rug out from under your feet and the character is dead. It happened in No Country for Old Men with Josh Brolin's character, where they just kind of like wipe by him. He's dead in the motel.
Yeah.
You're kind of shocked by, oh my God, this is like the dude we've been following.
Yeah.
In this movie, when they have that locker room scene and it all goes down and our main character just gets shot in the face and goes down, my jaw dropped. Was not expecting that to happen. It shocked me, but I was like, this is perfect. This was the perfect way. Unceremoniously, he finally took it too close to the edge.
Yeah.
And he got what was coming to him, and it doesn't matter because he's dead now.
Yeah.
Like, just curious how you
I mean, I was shocked. I was stunned by it. I didn't expect that at all. I don't know where I thought it was necessarily going, but I wasn't expecting that to happen then, and I definitely wasn't. Well, okay, let me go back. I had a little bit of a sense that, okay, maybe this isn't going to end well for this guy, right? Like maybe he, as you've been saying, this is a guy who likes the thrill. He likes to get right toward the edge, right? And I think like, okay, maybe he gets whacked somehow, at the end. Maybe he dies at the end. But the particular moment that it happens, the tone when it happens, and the sort of unceremonious way that it happens definitely made like a big impression. So it was sort of like a shocking moment, but it was like the destiny of the character sort of like to end this way. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you can predict the concept that this might happen, but
Yeah.
the swiftness and the unexpected,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh my God, now he's dead. And like, that's it,
And, from that point on, his partner, Vukovic, starts to dress more like him.
Yeah,
I don't think you see Vukovic necessarily wear like the aviator
aviator.
shades
Yeah.
until after his partner dies. And then it's almost like it's almost like the testosterone is like a virus that leaps to the next person once one of them dies. It's like, or like, and it follows or something. But
Yeah.
so his partner then becomes kind of the new
Oh man.
guy who's now himself going to go on this hard driving like quest for revenge.
Yeah. I'm gonna say just tangentially that that's what needs to be the next iteration of that concept. We saw Smile together, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah. Where it's like that's,
Yeah.
Smile was just jockeying that concept from It Follows, but like,
Yeah.
man, that would be actually pretty great to see a movie where it's like the concept of testosterone and being like an action dude just like
Yeah.
passes from one person to another and they can't help, I just gotta go base jumping right now. Like, anyway, yeah, I don't know. This is an interesting movie, I guess, for this platform for us to like quib about it. It's been a couple of weeks since I've watched it, so all my details are fuzzy, but
Yeah.
I don't know how much I really have to say about this other than I can't believe that it's not just a staple of the conversation when people talk about action films. And like maybe it was just like very poorly received, and maybe I'm inflating its value because I had like a slightly circuitous route to finally seeing it for the first time. But
Yeah.
I really think that it deserves to be mentioned when you talk about anything from that era where it's like best action movies of all time, Aliens and Terminator 2 and
Yeah.
To Live and Die in LA should like be.
I would not put it in the pantheon with those other movies. I
Okay,
think
well,
it's like way
I'm not
yeah.
suggesting that it's the same as those or it's as good as those. Those are clearly like the cream of the crop, but it's like I don't think you get in that deeper conversation with, or you shouldn't without mentioning this movie because it has its own unique take on it.
Yeah.
There's nothing else like it.
Yeah.
It's very well done and it's entertaining as hell. Like
Mhm.
I don't know what's not to like about it. That's, I guess
Oh,
unless you
for,
just
for sure. I mean, it's kind of it's just not a part of the conversation at all, I think. And what you're saying is like I think that it should be. It's just crazy that it seems to have been totally forgotten. Like it's a movie with high intensity and with its own like point of view. It's like very stylized and very very edgy in a lot of ways. I mean, you got Willem Dafoe in it. I mean, and he's
totally.
great in it.
And John
John
Turturro.
Turturro is in it,
Yeah.
also great in it.
Babies. They're so young.
Yeah.
That's like, I mean, it's what's another tangent here. It's crazy to have a movie with Willem Dafoe in it where he's like objectively handsome,
And he's
like
not, yeah, the kind of, yeah, I know what you mean.
it's like he's made a career out of himself of being kind of like
Kind of weird.
kind of weird. Yeah, exactly. Like the characters he plays are a little weird and he's a little weird looking. So when he does something scary, it's scarier. But like this movie, he's like kind of outside of being a psychopathic like money launderer who murders people, yada yada. He's kind of like a normal like
And artist. He's also an artist.
an artist. Yeah.
Money laundering.
Excuse me. Yes. We also can we separate this artist from his art for all the money laundering he has done? Find out next time. Yeah, that was kind of strange. But yeah, Babies. John Turturro is great in this as well.
Yes.
I mean, all of those elements to me, how I don't know. It's pretty bad that I don't remember the character's name or the actor's name who plays the lead in this movie. That's pretty bad. But
William Petersen.
yeah, I think he's in like CSI.
Yeah,
He's still working, like he's in police procedural stuff.
Yeah.
Not the star that maybe he could have been, but you've got a Oscar nominated director, I think, in William Friedkin.
Oscar-winning, I believe.
Oscar-winning director in William Friedkin. You've got Willem Dafoe, John Turturro, Robbie Mueller cinematography. Like,
yeah,
why is this movie why is it out of print? And like, why is it so hard to get a hold of? Why did I have to go to such lengths to like finally just watch this,
Yeah. And also one other thing is the soundtrack. It's like they got the band Wang Chung to
Yes.
to do the whole soundtrack, and it's like such a like industrial 80s, new wave, like hardcore new wave 80s soundtrack all the way through.
Yeah.
They'll be like, the cops will get into the car and start driving, and then suddenly you hear that, it's like,
Yeah.
it's very,
I love that. I was like kind of humming it for a couple of days after, like that particular, like the main theme that they used in that
yeah,
movie. Yeah. I was like, yeah, this movie just kind of infected my brain a little bit for a couple of days, you know?
it deserves better. It got done dirty by history a little bit somehow. And I'm very curious to know, like, why exactly it was sort of just like forgotten like this. But, just a couple of things. If I just want to, there's one great scene that I really like that I want to talk about, and one minor quibble. I'll talk about the quibble first, which is the one recurring quibble I have with this movie is their gun discipline, if you want to call it that, is absolutely awful.
Mm,
Meaning, like, they're always walking around with their gun just like pointing wherever, right?
mhm.
Like, so they've always got it in their hand. They're looking around. They got their own officers walking right in front of them, and they're just pointing the gun wherever it goes. If you look at more recent movies, like they really, really train the actors to, they're going in like this, they're pointing the gun at the ground, the finger's not on the trigger, they're going through. I don't believe this was an artistic choice. I think it was just a little bit of naivete in the filmmaking.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
that's my one quibble on it, really, essentially. But
Yeah.
one scene I wanted to talk about, which it's actually the scene when you are in the prison and John Turturro is like, am I going to get whacked?
Hmm.
I loved that scene for some reason
Yeah.
because it's like they're out in the yard,
Yeah.
in the big house, and they see these two guys coming out, and it's like, oh, somebody's gonna get whatever they say, somebody's gonna get got, and
Yeah.
they're kind of just sitting there, and they're like, who is it? Is it me? I don't know. Like, I don't know why I really love that scene.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
way it unfolds, like he has a way of giving you the information and pacing it out in a way where it's like you're looking at the characters, but then you're looking at the behavior of the people in the yard, and then you see their reaction to that. It's kind of like putting you right there on the bench with them
yeah,
in a way where you're trying to, even though you know effectively what's like about to happen.
yeah.
Um, yeah, that was a fantastic scene. I feel like this movie just has tons of fantastic
Hmm.
little little bits about it, like when he goes and suggests that his daughter is in the hospital,
Oh,
and he like, he gets him to unlock his cuffs and then immediately just like kicks the
yeah.
shit out of him. That's another thing is that like those little details, like I don't see them as like flippant, like I almost see like the unlocking of the handcuffs as like this is this guy thinking like that's him on the edge again
Yeah,
of
yeah. Okay.
potential danger. It's not just like, oh, he softened me up. He's thinking like, well, he might be, but I know I can take it or whatever. It's just I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's him
He's
just,
he's cocky. He's
yeah.
like, yeah.
The dude's always playing with house money. Like that's how
Mm,
it feels. He has no problem just like running out there
yeah.
doing the thing. And I gotta appreciate too, this movie does not seem like it was filmed totally on the up and up in terms of like safety in general.
Okay.
Eh, but I think made in an era in which people were maybe allowed to make their own decisions about that sort of thing, where it's like there was one or two shots where the dude like is running after a perp
Uh-huh.
and he like slides over a car or like
Yeah.
jumps over a car, and it's like clearly that was not
Uh-huh.
rehearsed that closely as it should
Yeah.
have been or something, but he
But
clearly going for it.
it is the actor doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's the actor doing it, and it
Yeah.
adds a certain authenticity and a certain, I don't know, grittiness to the whole thing where it's like there's a couple, I forget what it was, but don't they get in like a bit of a punching or a slapping fight at some point? And it's like some of those slaps and punches look real.
Uh-huh.
Like the actors discuss with each other, like, is this cool? Are we doing this? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, hit me, like actually hit me.
Yeah.
I just think this movie had a lot of cocaine in the trailers.
You
you
just
know,
want to end this right there. Basically. Yeah, no, I that's actually a great comment because now that you mention it, I feel like it's almost like the coked up testosterone vibe of the film bled out from the story itself and maybe became a part of the filmmaking.
infected the filming
Yeah.
itself. Yeah.
So it's like this isn't just like we're gonna go all out. And there's something a little bit like a little cokey about some of the editing, I thought as well. There was a lot of points where it's like somebody will end like say something like, well, what are you going to do then? And then it'll like cut to a
Yeah,
different scene. And it's like, that's normally not when you would want to do a cut. It's like not the most elegant cutting.
yeah,
But it adds to this kind of
it works for
like
me.
really like nervy feeling throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, yeah, works for me. Um, yeah, this movie's just hardcore. I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
probably not for everyone. Probably not as good as I'm making out to be. Probably is problematic for a lot of people for many different reasons. But
Mhm.
I don't know. It just strikes me as a really excellent movie for like any 16-year-old kid to like invite a few friends over and like sneak some beers and just watch because it's radical, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that. And that's cool to me. Like, I don't know. I just am into it.
Yeah, you can't. It's like you can't find this thing streaming on Netflix. It's like you're gonna have to you literally have to get somebody to burn it for you,
Burn it. Yeah.
and then you're gonna watch it. It's like, yo, I found this. Yeah, this there's this
Yeah.
80s movie that like, man, it really slaps. Like, yeah, so
Yeah. Oh man, I'm just workshopping it in my brain. Maybe it's like a dual It Follows, but also The Ring sort of thing where it's like you burn a copy of To Live and Die in LA and you give it to your friends and all of a sudden they're just
I like it. Yeah, it's not that this movie actually ends up.
changing your body, your mental chemistry. Just like, I don't know, man. I think I gotta buy a motorcycle. I'm just gonna buy a motorcycle today.
I think it's solid. That's how I felt after this year.
Yeah, why
I need a,
not?
I need a pistol, a
Yeah,
motorcycle, and
yeah. And a can-do attitude,
yeah.
really. Yeah, so I say thumbs up. Definitely should watch. Don't know how you're gonna do it, but we've given a little insight onto how we did it.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
more can you say?
Same. Yeah, it especially if you consider yourself an aficionado of 80s movies or action movies or crime thrillers. I think that you have to watch this movie. It's such a hidden gem, and again, just crazy that it's just not available. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
cool.